am building an endless white room in this amazingly long, awesome room to do this in.
In a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
I've had to do this in way smaller rooms than this, but today, very comfortable, long, big room. The bigger the room, the easier it is to do this look. All I'm using is a 9-foot roll of white paper, putting it up, shining a ton of light on it, blowing it out, and then putting the subject as far away from the white paper as I can. A longer lens works way better. If you use a wide lens, it's going to give everything away right away. You'd have to put the subject so close up to the white paper that you're going to get a lot of bounce and reflection back off of the white paper onto your subject and also onto the product that you're trying to demonstrate if it incorporates showing off a product. You have to use 2 light sources. You're going to try to blow out the white paper, and then you're also going to separately light the person and the product. So you need double the lights to be able to pull this off. If you have to put them too close to the paper, not only is it that they're getting the bounce from the paper, but you're also putting them into the same lighting that you're using on the backdrop, which is going to be maximized because you're trying to blow it out. You're trying to put as much light as evenly as possible on the backdrop as you can. So again, the more you can separate the subject away, the better. It's really important to go ahead and invest in some C-stands one at a time if you need to. I do still have a lot of cheaper stands that I'm going to be using on the smaller lights, in particular for blowing out the white background, but when it comes to lighting a product, you really want to have the angles available to you that a boom arm can allow, at least for 1 to 2 lights. That way you can have them side-armed in overhead and you won't see the stand all the way to the side. You can't achieve that with this. You're just going to have to point it or angle it down versus running a boom arm like this that'll bend up and put the light pointing down straight there. So $150 a piece for each C-stand that you invest in, but each one is going to last you super long time as long as you take care of it. They're heavy, so they don't tip over nearly as easy. And whenever you're using a C-stand, you want to, if you're going to boom out, you want to go ahead and boom on the highest arm. See how on the feet there's 3 different levels, and so the highest arm is the one that you want pointed forward, so you always align your boom arm in that direction, so that way it's harder to push over that like that, see? Whereas if it was in between here, look how easy this will tip over, right? Versus this, I have to like really push. So once you figure out your height, I'm going to bring it back down now and tape just the top where it's touching the crossbar, so that way it doesn't unravel itself in the middle of filming. The reason I have all the excess is you want them to be able to walk on it. And you do want to be using gaff tape. Gaff tape doesn't leave any residue. This is what stagehand would use on the show calls. This is professional tape. Strong as duct tape, but doesn't leave sticky residue on stuff. So you can use this on your cables, you can use this on people's walls gently, and it won't leave the residue. You know, always do a little safety check to make sure it's not going to pull something off. I've had this roll of paper for, I guess, 3 or 4 years. They say don't let it lay on the ground. Like you should have it sitting upright. This has been laying on the ground. Because it's so damn tall, when I had it initially, I didn't have a ceiling high enough to really stand it up in, and if I had to angle it, it took up too much space. I'm using barn doors on this so that way I can just block some spill light that would happen otherwise. And I do have soft boxes, but that's not what I'm going to be using in this case. Because I want to blast as much light as possible there. I've used soft boxes in the past, but it's going to diffuse your light a lot more. While it does evenly spill the light, which is nice, it's going to take away a lot of the power that your light has. Now, I'm already going to be using less power than this light is capable of. For instance, this is bicolored. I can do tungsten or daylight. If I was to go all the way to tungsten, it can't use every bulb that it has at its disposal. So it's going to be less powerful. And I have to go to tungsten in order to match this light over here, which I want to use as my other light. That light over there is a straight up old school tungsten. I'm making it a point to not put anything heavy on this table. I do not want a scratch to happen on a product table. Tungsten just does look nice. They're the cheapest light and they look nice. They're hot, they're power hungry, you have to deal with bulbs. You can get cheap LEDs and people look terrible under them. You get cheap tungsten and it still looks really nice. My ring light is my beauty light. This is the closest thing I've found that you can get to a diffuse, like having a giant softbox on, but it's much more mobile. I can put this in a lot more positions than I can attempt to put a softbox. It's hard to not want to use this all the time. So I do use it all the time. This is the light I'm going to move around the most. What I'm going to do is put everything tungsten. So I'm not going to get as much power out of this. Oh, wait. I did not think about the idea that these panels are daylight only. I haven't done one of these in a long time. I have a different lighting setup than I used to have. And you want to have the same light color for all the lights for this to feel like an endless white room where everything matches, because I'm going to set that color temperature to look white. I'm down 3 lights all of a sudden, so I'm going to see if I can use this and this Dracast panel over here in their tungsten settings and get away with just those single 2 lights being enough for this here. If it's not, how to coil is the proper way. Over, under. Look, my hand flips under. Over, under. Over, so the coil actually comes where it's in front, but when I do this, it actually, look, my hand actually flips it on the inside, so now that's called under, because it's going under that line. This is the way that you do it if you were working a stage for a large concert. Do this with your cables, you're never fighting them. If they're not going that way, then either they've been coiled incorrectly and they have memory in them that's bad, or they just need to be unwound a little bit. Just give them a little flick, let them unbind a little, and then attempt to go back to that over-under technique. Spread the load. About to run the first test here. I've run power for all 4 main lights that are gonna hopefully blow out this background. Okay, we might be okay. Here's what the camera sees. So you have to put, got the Kelvin all the way down to 3000. That's as low as the LED goes. I actually think that these lights are probably closer to 2700. I can change that in post, but look at that. That's actually pretty blown out. Now I don't have a single light on over the actual table yet. Now I do have the lens at 1.4. There's a good chance that I'm not gonna be in focus exactly when I get back over there. But if I lean forward like this, now maybe I'd be in focus. So, because I focused the front of the desk here. And now let's walk over and see if I am lit enough. That's the whole goal here. Is that blown out and I'm lit enough? Yeah, that's more than enough. It's too much. I gotta bring it down some. So actually, with that in mind, let me see if I can use the 70-200. Now, that aperture only goes to 2.8. So I'd really like to use that lens a lot on the zoom ins and the tight shots of the product in the hands. That's really what I wanna go to. Now we have the 70-200 millimeter on there. Again, this lens, it's an EF mount. It goes onto the camera, but image stabilization is not supported. The aperture cannot change, so I have to actually physically take it over to this A7S that I just did and hook it up to this, change the aperture, turn off the camera, unhook the lens, and that way I have it set at 2.8. Get the focus point on the table. Even a 2.8's a bit shallow for the front and back of the table, so I'll kind of lean in and out to see if I can get full focus. And here we are. Yeah, so I'm a little tall, but I have a feeling that our subject is not as tall as me. Okay, so now I'm leaning on the table, and now I'm back like this. If I was to demonstrate the product, moving things, camera down there, and this is where blah, 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 blah. That works. I can totally use this lens. If I had my computer with me though, I didn't know I'd have this much time, which is why I decided to make this while on the shoot, because I didn't think I'd have this much time, but I do. I would check this on a computer monitor to make absolute sure, because sometimes things look good on here and they're not quite as fully awesome. When I bring them back onto the computer, I can actually see noise issues that I didn't see through this monitor. This can be a little bit deceiving, a little too forgiving of what's happening.
With the EVID Edge, it was designed and built from the ground up to be a tablet-based electronic poll book.
Our EVID product is a 10-year product, meaning that we can support the product for a total of 10 years. That's unheard of in electronics. The docking station is designed with multiple positions, able to accommodate use from the poll worker as they check in the voter, to place it in front of the voter for collecting a signature or reviewing information, and even an additional position for ADA voters that may need the positioning a little lower so they can access the device to record a signature or review.